Alright, so John Cola with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for this episode. The comparison of the all-new 2026 release Hurom H80, and technically this is the Hurom H80 ST because it has a stainless steel screen, compared against the Hurom H70. And in the H70 sold in the USA, this is the H70 FT, which basically is the easy clean system. Now, to be straight up with you guys, my favorite juicer right now on the whole market at present time is the Hurom H70. I'll post a link down below so you guys could watch the 10 reasons why the Hurom H70 is my favorite machine. But Hurom just released the Hurom H80. It's 10 newer, right? It's 2 years newer because this was released in 2024. This was released in 2026. Is the H80 a better juicer? Is it the one you should get, or should you stick with the one I still recommend, the H70? Well, stay tuned to this episode because we're going to dive deep, guys, and go into all the differences, comparison between these two machines. So by the end of this video, you'll understand the differences, and then also which one may be the one you will end up with buying. And of course, I'll do one of my famous juice off comparisons where we juice even amounts of produce in each machine. We time it to see how long it takes, and then we share with you guys the complete results so you guys could make the appropriate decision for you. All right, so right off the bat, the main difference between these two is that this is the pure press line with the standard stainless steel juicing screen, and this is the easy clean line with basically a screenless design that you no longer need a brush to scrub down. That's why I love this machine so much. It literally takes me 60 seconds to clean, whereas the traditional juicing screen design takes me 4 to 5 minutes to clean. I will tell you guys that this, the original juicing parts, including the wiping blade, the screen, and the auger, have changed little from previous versions of this machine. What has changed significantly is the hopper design, which is now, this is the largest hopper, 2.2 liters on the H80 over any other Hurom juicer. They all have a 2-liter hopper. And of course, over on the H70, it has a 1.8 liter hopper, so that's a bit smaller. In addition, they have a new spiral blade that I'll show you guys in a minute that is said to be an upgraded processing blade that works a bit more effectively, as well as a new kind of cutout on the bottom to help get produce into the juicer faster. Now, this machine does run at 50 revolutions per minute, whereas the Hurom H70 runs at 60 revolutions per minute. While both these machines do have a full 15-year warranty, the other claim to fame of the Hurom H80 is that it is dishwasher safe. Do not put the H70 in the dishwasher. I personally would never put the H70 in the dishwasher because it's so easy to clean without the dishwasher. I basically just spray it down. It takes me 60 seconds. If you guys want to see it, link down below to my original unboxing video where I time the cleaning process. Meanwhile, with the Hurom H80, I would still recommend scrubbing down that juicing screen with the included brush, because although you can put these parts in the dishwasher, if you just put the parts in the dishwasher with Pulp kind of ground into the screen, even the dishwasher with all its spraying jets will not get that clean. So you will minimally need to basically pre-scrub down the juicing screen inside and out, and then put all the parts in the dishwasher, which then honestly will make it quite easy to clean as well. And of course, you're going to get sparkling clean parts every single time. So this is a major advancement because this is the first home unit that is dishwasher safe. All previous units before that, not dishwasher safe, not made with the right materials, and the dishwasher can degrade, juicer parts, except for the H80 because it's been certified dishwasher safe. Now, the other major improvements of the H80, which, a matter of fact, I kind of like, is the oversized port where the juice comes out. I really love this a lot compared to the port on the H70. This does have a level gauge, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I prefer to have kind of this opening. And then also the main thing on this is this has a fit and clean pulp port. So literally just take this out to clean it. This is also very easy to get your fingers in to clear any potential jams should that happen to you if you're not pre-cutting your produce properly. And it makes this part very easy to clean. I love that upgraded part because on the Hurom H70, it's got the old-fashioned method. You got to flip this down, pop it open, and then you can kind of get in here and clean. With this, you don't even have to flip it down or anything, and it just comes out and is cleanable very easily. And should you get this clogged, because you're not pre-cutting things properly, you will need to take it apart and unjam it, which is a little bit more difficult. So I do love the new advancements on the Hurom H80, and I do personally hope they come out with our Hurom H80 FT model, which would basically be the easy clean model. That would completely be amazing because I love the upgraded hopper as well as the Pulp ports. I'm just not a big fan of the stainless steel screen myself. So why would you want to go with the standard design and then spend 4 to 5 minutes to clean instead of going with the 60-second easy clean design? It pretty much all comes down to pulp is what the normal thing is said about the standard juicing screen. People supposedly don't like pulp in their juice. You know, and if this is you, I completely understand. To get this basically as pulp free as this machine here, you just need to invest in like a sieve, such as this one. You could buy sieves like this at Dollar Tree for like $1.25 or $1.50. And then just put this under and filter the juice out. And then you can clean this, which is a heck of a lot easier than cleaning all this clogged stainless steel holes. And then you have the 60-second rinse. So, you know, just a simple sieve could negate the issue of people saying, oh, this one makes less pulp in the juice. That being said, I want to encourage you guys to drink the pulp in your juice. In most cases, you know, the easy clean design will put more pulp in your juice. In some cases, depending on what you're juicing, you can put actually less pulp. But drinking some pulp in your juice, and this pulp is the insoluble fiber because, of course, when you're juicing, you're keeping the majority of the soluble fiber that dissolves in the liquid or the juice you're making, such as the pectin. Because most Americans are fiber deficient, and a little bit of added pulp or fiber in your juice is only a good thing. In my book, it's not going to hinder the absorption of all the nutrients that are already separated out from the cell wall, so you get a greater uptake of those nutrients, such as beta-carotene in carrots, as proven by the science. So personally, you know, I don't really see the big benefit these days to having a stainless steel screen, because if the only difference is it's less pulp in the juice, then of course you could use a sieve to remove the pulp. Now I will say that also with the Hurom H80, you not just get the one screen that is comes installed in the machine, which is the fine screen. You also get a coarse screen should you want more pulp in your juice in the get-go. And of course, you also get a sorbet screen with this juicer, so you can make frozen fruit sorbets. That being said, the Hurom H70 needs no additional attachments to make sorbet. And in the original unboxing video, link down below, I make an amazing sorbet that even has a better texture, in my opinion, than the Hurom H80. And of course, the amount of pulp in your juice is not selectable because you don't get a fine and coarse screen. You just get the one level of pulp, which I would say is somewhere between the coarse and the fine screen. And of course, if you want less pulp, just put a sieve to catch your juice through the sieve, you know, before drinking it. So with that, let's go ahead and take each of these machines apart and show you guys how they work exactly. Of course, you get the Hurom base. Both the machines have a full 15-year warranty on the motor base. I will say that the Hurom H70 motor base is a lot more compact, right? It's taller, it has a less of a footprint, you know, and the Hurom H80 has like a teardrop shape, so it takes a lot more space on your countertop, whereas the H70 doesn't take as much space on your countertop. It also, of course, is not as tall either, you know, so this is kind of like the Goldilocks zone because this machine can get rather large. All right, next up, we got the hopper coming out of the H80 and the hopper coming out of the H70. You guys can see the size difference. I mean, that's a pretty big difference. Once again, 1.8 liter hopper, 2.2 liter hopper. The hopper on the H70 is easier to open because it's just a little trigger switch. You click it and then it pops up. This is non-removable but goes back almost like suicide style. And on the H80 you need to kind of lift your finger up underneath this and lift it up. And then it goes back not quite as far. So you guys can see this is the differences in the hopper size. Like you could almost fit this hopper inside the other one. So the size is definitely different. Also, if you look at the H70 hopper, it's kind of like funneled like this. I find that this actually helps the produce kind of get to the bottom. This is actually a two-piece hopper. You have this kind of smoked plastic, and then you have a bottom black plastic on the bottom with your processing blade on the bottom. This is, once again, more traditional design processing blade. You do have some special cutouts on the bottom as the produce goes through the hole. You know, and Hurom, really, engineers take their time to engineer this properly and right so that the produce feeds in at a good rate. If it feeds in too fast, that could cause a clog or jam. If it feeds in too slow, then basically you're wasting time. So I really love this unique cutout shape, because a lot of hopper style juicers, if you just look at them, just have like a cutout that just looks like they had no engineering put into it. They just kind of made a cutout so that the food drops in. In addition, if you notice, there's multi-levels on this. On here, there's like a few little cutouts that kind of help push the food in to the machine as well. That being said, you know, this is a little bit older hopper design, and this is the latest hopper design right here on the Hurom H80. I like that it's all one piece. The smoke plastic all the way down, no longer the two pieces that are glued together. In addition, you now have a new processing blade. Basically, it's called the spiral blade, and if you look at the bottom here, you know, it has basically a bumper on it, so basically it pushes the produce around so that things don't get stuck on it or things don't get impaled on it as much. In addition, it also goes out to the very edge, just like on the Hurom H70, something very important that not all other hopper juicers do. This, once again, just makes it more efficient. In addition, it has these two little knockouts here, so as this blade goes around, it basically helps, you know, crunch up the food and put it into smaller pieces to basically go through this hole at the bottom. Now, this hole at the bottom is, once again, a unique shape. It's kind of wide over on this side and gets more narrow on this side. And once again, it also has these little bumpers on top that kind of help funnel the produce in. So yes, this hopper is new and improved. Will it perform better than the H70 hopper that I find to be, you know, pretty much perfect in its own right? Well, we're going to find out when we juice in just a little bit. Next up, now this is where the major difference is. You know, the hoppers are hoppers. They basically feed the produce in, not a major difference, but this is where really it's super huge and different, right? Okay, so these are traditional juicing parts found on all of the Hurom vertical juicers since they invented them about 20 years ago, with minor changes. This has an outer wiping blade that spins around, that basically wipes down the juicing screen to get all the juice to come out into your cup. And this is removable. And once again, another piece you will need to clean. You also have that stainless steel juicing screen. You will need to take a brush and scrub when you're done. This is the, you know, most complicated, time-consuming part to clean in any juicer. And, you know, I'm sad with Hurom having their exclusive Easy Clean technology on their machines only. They decide to come out with a machine that has a screen base. I know they're playing it safe, you know, because, you know, if the marketing was done properly on the Easy Clean design, people would just be like, the Easy Clean design is it. Why even use a juicing screen? But I know Hurom is feeling the pain from other companies that are still selling screen-based juicers. But in my opinion, they haven't done a good enough job to really let the public know about the benefit of the Easy Clean that really takes things up to the next level. So part of me was honestly sad when they came out with the H80. I'm like, oh, it's not an Easy Clean, man. They're really missing the point, because they're the only company that has their unique Easy Clean system that is the easiest juicer to clean. So they go back to one that is more difficult to clean, but then you also may get more of a pulp-free juice, once again, that a simple sieve could basically bring the Easy Clean up to this level. Of course, you also have a juicing screen to clean. Once again, I'm not the biggest fan of cleaning this. And then you have that just standard auger, right? That then basically rotates around, crushes the produce up between the screen, and the juice comes out, drops into the bowl, and then comes out this oversized spout, which I do like in the bowl, because that's a new upgraded oversized spout. And in addition, once again, they have that fit and clean pulp port that you just could unplug the whole thing, get in there nice and easy and clean. Once again, these are upgrades. I hope these upgrades roll out to the Easy Clean design, because I really love these upgrades. Of course, I also love the upgrades on that hopper too. I'm just not a fan of these juicing parts here. All right, so on the H70, how this works, once again, this is the new design. This Hurom's got the patent on this. No other company could copy this specific design or Hurom's gonna sue you. And all this, how this works is this just has an auger and the juicing bowl. That's it, guys. I mean, imagine that. If you just had the auger and the juicing bowl, that's how this works, right? No, you got all these extra parts to clean. Why even do it, right? So this auger is unique because it's a two-piece auger. You can see it comes apart. When you put it together, between these lines are little slits. So they have long slits that as the produce is being crushed and juiced between the auger and the juicing bowl, right? The juice comes out and then basically it falls inward and then comes out the bottom, which then it comes out over here, and then the pulp just continues down the side and then comes out over here. So this is ingenious, and literally to clean this off, I literally just spray this down because there are no small holes for pulp to get clogged into. There's no brushing required. If you guys want to see what happened to my juicer after a year of using it and just spraying it down every single time, link down below to my video. Herm originally told me there'll be no buildup. I mean, so I'm not going to say there's no buildup, but there was hardly any buildup, and the machine worked the same as when I got it when I was new, even after a year. And this is going on like 2 years now, and I have not done any kind of deep cleaning on this. And as you guys can see, it's still pretty clean, and there's a little bit of buildup on there, and I could get this totally clean one day, and I'll probably make a video on how to do that for you guys. But at this point, I'm not even worrying about it, right? Because I want to show actual real-world experience, what really happens when I just clean this off by spraying it down with water, no soap even, right? And it's been working great. So yeah, so that's the two machines. Let's go ahead and assemble these. Once again, assembly on the H80 is more complex, easy to do. Once you've done it a few times, you take the juicing wiping blade, put the screen in there. On the juicing screen, you have these two notches. One's a big notch, one's a small notch. You line up the small notch and the big notch here, drop the screen right into place. You take the auger. Auger is a little bit redesigned here to kind of accept produce inlet better than previous augers. Drop that down in there, make sure it's level and flat. And then you just take the hopper and then you basically offset it. And then you rotate this together so that these are two together. Now I do like that this has two handles. Should you clog or jam this machine, what happens is the auger gets jacked up, and then some machines that doesn't have a handle on the bottom, then it's extremely hard to kind of get leverage on the bottom while you're trying to turn the top off. You know, so the Hurom H80, they make it super simple, super easy. And if you assemble it correctly, it should turn on if the motor is in the on position. Meanwhile, over on that Hurom H70, once again, you're going to take the two-piece auger, shove it together, drop it in there, make sure it's fully seated down, and then once again, you're just going to go ahead and take that hopper. This outcropping here lines up with the outcropping here, and you're just going to offset that a little bit to the side, and then you're just going to lock it in place, and then you could take the whole assembly and drop it into the machine. I personally love the machines that have the juice come out one side and then the pulp come out the other side, like catty corner. Whereas, you know, a lot of the Hurom machines now will come out with the juice on one side, the pulp on the other. And I'm not the biggest fan because it does take a lot more of a footprint, like the long ways. And I know some of you guys don't have a lot of counter space, so this is kind of more counter space saving. All right, next up, we're gonna go ahead and do a decibel meter test to see how loud each of these juices are. I got a brand new decibel meter here. Hopefully you guys can see it here. So first we'll do the Hurom H70. All right, we're between 63 to 68 decibels, which was the range. And then over on the Hurom H80, looks like 61 to 65 decibels. What I will say is that this machine is basically new. I think I used it once already, whereas this is my daily driver for a long time. I've used it so much, and as I use a machine more, may make a little bit funnier noises, especially when you're running it empty. You should never run your juicer empty for any length of time. You know, I always have usually produce in there, which then will quiet the machine down just a little bit. All right, guys, so now we're gonna go ahead and do a weigh-in. We got some organic carrots, organic apples, and a Meyer lemon my friend grew. It looks like we got 1369.7, 1369.7. Looks like we got a fair fight. Let's get juicing. All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and time how long it takes to juice the same amount of produce in both machines. And what I'm gonna do is we're gonna load up both machines and then just turn them on. and then I'm going to start the stopwatch to see how long it takes. Let's go ahead and load up both machines, see if we can fit all this produce just into each hopper. All right, looks like we were able to fit almost all of it into the Hurom H80 hopper. You definitely don't want to fill past the fill line, which I did a little bit. So we got that top latch down. On the Hurom H70, definitely we're not going to fit it all because the hopper is a bit smaller, but let's see how much we could fit in there. Alright, so we fit a bunch in the Hurom H70. We still got a bit to put in each machine. That being said, we're going to go ahead and hit start here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn both machines on. Alright, start, and let's turn them both on. 1, 2, 3. Alright, they're both off to the races and juicing. We got Pulp collection cups in place, and we're going to go ahead and catch the juice. And as the machines start juicing the produce, you guys can see juices coming out of both machines. I'm just going to go ahead and add in the extra carrots to the hole at the top. All right, so in order to save you guys some time, we're going to go ahead and speed this part of the video up and come back at you when one of these machines is done juicing. Alright, as you guys can see, the Hurom H80 kicked it out. I mean, that's one of the things I saw originally when I did the unboxing. I said this guy was fast. And it's pretty much, it just works at a really fast clip. The produce goes in, gets juiced, it comes out. A little bit left in the hopper. Let's go ahead and dump it down and make sure everything gets juiced up. But it looks like we're under about 3 minutes for juicing all this material in the Hurom H80. Let's go ahead and let the Hurom H70 finish up and then show you guys how long it takes. Alright guys, so the Hurom H70 has just about finished out, and it's basically at 4 minutes and 45 seconds, so it took 1 minute and 45 seconds longer than the Hurom H80. That being said, I want to remind you guys that although this machine did take longer, this is time that the machine is running on its own without you. You don't have to sit here and babysit or watch the machine, right? You could just leave and do something else. So the amount of time it takes to juice, in my opinion, is inconsequential unless you're in a super big rush and you've got to get out the door and you want to be done as quick as possible. This will be done faster, but then you got longer to clean on this machine. And even though this took 1.5 minutes or 1 minute and 45 seconds longer, this is going to save you more time in cleaning, so you'll still be done juicing and cleaning faster in the Hurom H70. Let's go ahead and turn that off, and let's go ahead and compare the actual juice yields. Alright, so let's bring these front and center and see which juicer actually made more juice. This is first the Unstrained test, and let's go ahead and do a close-up for you guys. Alright guys, this has to be the upset of the century. The new H80 model released 2026. Looks like to me, the juice is right around 2 2/3 cups. We do have a little bit of a foam layer on there, so it's a bit hard to discern. But maybe 2 2/3 cups is where it looks like to me. And then if we go over the Hurom H70, look at that. More juice was made. This one looks to be at straight up 3 1/3 cups of juice. So we're talking at least easily a 1/2 cup of more juice in the Hurom H70 than the all-new Hurom H80. Alright guys, so was this the epic upset or what? I'll tell you guys what I think. I have tested the Hurom Easy Clean Design system against other screen-based juicers, and actually in most cases, they actually get higher yield. So this is newer technology, it just works better, right? I don't know why Hurom went backwards with the H80. It does have some nice features, but as you guys can see, the juice yield on this carrot and apple test, although this was done faster, right? And I want to show you guys the pulp because I think that's where the difference is. This is going to have a wetter pulp, and it's more, a fluffy pulp. We'll compare that in a minute. But what I really want to do next is, because another thing that will inflate the yield is all the pulp in the juice. So if this makes an extra 1/2 cup of pulp in the juice, then actually this machine with less pulp in the juice may have made more juice. So let's figure that out right now, because we're going to use the exact same sieve and the exact same measuring cup to basically see which one actually made more juice after sieving out. All right, so first we're going to go ahead and pour out the Hurom H70 juice, the sieve. As we're pouring this out, you know, there's a bunch of pulp collecting at the bottom of the sieve. We're going to shake this down, and there's a good amount of pulp in there. Once again, if you don't want the pulp in the easy clean design, just buy a sieve, guys. It's like $1.50, you know, at the Dollar Tree for a sieve, pretty much this similar quality. All right, guys, so that's all the juice that the Hurom H70 made. Once again, I would encourage you guys just to swallow that extra pulp. Most Americans are pulp or fiber deficient, and fiber has been connected with a lot of health benefits, right? So we have a nice little pulp patty there. I'm going to shake it down a little bit, let that drain out. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and see how much pulp the Hurom H80 actually put into the juice. If there's no pulp, then maybe it could have made more juice, all right? So we're pouring this out, and it's a lot finer. There's less pulp, although there is some pulp being collected, right? Yeah, there's a bunch less pulp collected by the sieve, all right? So next up, let's go ahead and shake this pulp down a little bit, and yeah, there's a fraction of the pulp, guys. I mean, I'm like talking like maybe 1/5 less pulp. It's kind of crazy, all right? Let's go ahead and shake this down a final time. So yeah, this is the difference in pulp, guys. I mean, that is pretty huge. Once again, I encourage you guys to drink the pulp. That being said, let's find out how much the pulp weighs that was put into each juice. All right, guys, so I got the scale tiered out at 0. Let's go ahead and find out how much pulp was put in by the Hurom H80. Literally a trifle. Looks like 9.7 grams of pulp in the Hurom H80. Once again, not much at all. Then once again, over on the Hurom H70, that's 9.6 actually. Let's go ahead and tear that out back to 0. 9.6 compared to 53.4. So that's roughly 5 times more pulp in the Hurom H70 than the Hurom H80. That being said, did all that pulp make a difference in the yield? And which ones made more yield despite the pulp in the juice? Once again, if you don't want the pulp in the juice in the easy clean, just use a sieve, and now we have even amounts of pulp in both juice. The amount of pulp that would fit through that same, you know, sieve that I used to strain out the juice. All right, guys, now let's go ahead and do the final yield test. Let's go ahead and give you guys a close-up to see which one actually now made more juice. All right, guys, let's go ahead and give you guys a close-up on the juices, easily over on the Hurom H80. Looks like we're right around maybe 685, maybe. My best guesstimate around there. Once again, under 700, a little bit under 700. But then going over to the H70, right? Look at that. We're over 700, maybe 705 milliliters of juice. Isn't that interesting, right? The machine that costs $100 less, that's easier to clean after we remove the pulp, still made more juice. All right, guys, wasn't that interesting, right? Even after straining all the pulp out to the same particle size, the Hurom H70 still made more juice, right? You know, I personally believe that's because, once again, that cutout size as a pulp, as a produce goes in on the hopper is smaller, right? This means that it slows down the produce going through the machine, and then it gets a bit better extract. Of course, it does take a little bit longer to juice. Now I want to go ahead and compare the pulps that came out of both machines, because this is very telling also. You know, if you watch the pulp come out of the machine as it was working, the pulp is coming out of the H80 at a good clip. It's just moving out, man. It's just burp, 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 getting it out. And when this happens, in my opinion, it doesn't get as good of an extract. It doesn't get the pulp drier, as clearly seen by the yield, because the H70 did make more yield. And if we compare the pulps here, right, you could see that this one is a bit more compressed. Like, I pushed this down because I was afraid it was going to overflow a little bit, but the pulp as it comes out of the H70 is basically like kind of squeezed a bit harder, right? Once again, that nets out in a bit more juice. Not a whole lot, but nonetheless a bit more juice. Also, really interesting to see is that the pulp is a bit darker on the H70 than it is in the H80 collection cup. If I go to grab the pulp and squeeze it, I mean, it's fairly dry. I could get a couple drips out of that. If I squeeze the pulp On this, it's a lot lighter and more fluffy, right? Because it's not as compacted. I could squeeze that, and you know, once again, I could also squeeze some juice out of that as well. So, you know, all I'm gonna say is that the Hurom H80 made more juice. The pulp to me looks a bit more compacted, although a little bit darker. You know, I believe that is because on some levels the H80, due to the grinding process, maybe does put a little more oxygen in the juice, which then causes the pulp to oxidize a bit more. Once again, one of the pros and cons of the H80 or easy clean method. That being said, if we look at the juices straight up, right, they look to be about the same color. You know, it looks like the H80 is separating a little bit more, but not much more than the H70 juice. That being said, I do want to taste test the juice for you to see if I could taste any discernible difference. This is the H80 juice. Wow, it's nice and sweet with that apple and the lemon in there. I feel some fine particulate, you know, that even went through that sieve. Next up, let's go ahead and taste the H70 juice. Wow. So to me, I'm not getting some of that fine particulate. So while this did put particulate in the juice, my opinion is that it's a lot more larger particulate that was able to be strained out with that sieve. And when we put it through, it caught all the large particulate and it didn't put a lot of fine particulate in like the H80. Let me go ahead and try a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm getting some of that particulate now too. But I'm going to say maybe a little bit less of the small particulate because it was put in larger chunks in. And this one put smaller chunks in. So I'd have to even get a finer sieve to strain that out, which I'm not going to do. Nonetheless, that's what you get in this episode, right? I'm comparing Hurom's latest H80 to the Hurom H70. And I ask you, which one would you choose? Which one do you prefer more? I know which one I prefer more. Clearly, the H70 made more juice, and now I'm going to have a lot easier time to clean it. Of course, this one was done faster, made a bit less yield, put less pulp in the juice, right? And once again, I don't mind pulp in the juice. And if you don't want the pulp in the juice, just buy $1 sieve to sieve it out before you drink your juice, and you're going to have a juice very similar in texture to the machine that is going to take you longer to clean. Now, before I declare the winner of this episode, in my book, no matter which one of these machines you buy, you'll be a winner when you go with the Hurom company. Once again, they've been manufacturing kitchen appliances in South Korea for the last 50 years. They have 50 years of engineering experience. They are credited to inventing the first vertical slow juicer over 20 years ago. They had the first hopper style juicer on the market before anybody else, and they still to this day make some of the best hopper juicers. Both these machines, of course, have a full 15-year warranty, and while the Hurom H80 has some nice bells and whistles, including the pulp ejection and the juice port, as well as the upgraded hopper, in my testing, it didn't perform, you know, any better than some of the other screen-based designs. That being said, it has these new upgrades, and it juices even faster than some of those other machines, which is impressive. That being said, H70, impressive because it's going to be easy to clean and actually made more juice. That's why this is my favorite juicer. But either of these machines, if you guys want to save the most money, make sure you guys use the coupon code WINNER to save a minimum of 10% off any of the Hurom juicers, right? And that promo code can be combined with other sales they may have going on to get your price even lower. And I'll put all the information in the description below, sharing with you guys the exact amount you'll be saving on each juicer when this video comes out. Of course, later on, that coupon code WINNER will save you guys a minimum of 10% off. And not only will you guys get the lowest price when you guys use that coupon code, but if I've helped you out, please help me out by using that coupon code. You'll get the lowest price, but also Hurom will sure be part of the sale, so I can continue to make these educational videos for you guys. Buy the carrots, pay my light bill, pay my amazing video editor so I can get these videos up for you guys and share with you guys the truth about what happens when you juice even amounts of produce in each machine, as well as, more importantly, give you guys my expert commentary about juicers and juicing that I've learned over the last 31 years juicing myself. So thank you so much for those of you guys that will use that coupon code. I hope you guys get the Hurom H70 because you will be juicing more because it is easier to clean. And that is the winner of this juice off, right? It did take longer to juice, but it made more juice in the end and put some beneficial fiber in the juice. And of course, if you don't want that fiber, just buy a standard sieve at a Dollar Tree for like $1 to get the pulp out, because that's the main benefit. They say the screen juicers have, oh, it puts less pulp in the juice. Well, hey, if you just catch the juice in a sieve before it goes in the container, right, you're going to have a similar amount of pulp in both juices, but then you still got the easy to clean part, right? And so I really think there needs to be a big shift in the market and marketing on behalf of Hurom and everybody else. I mean, it's unfortunate that most influencers online are still promoting machines that have a screen because they have not yet experienced the screenless design. And if they did, you know, because everybody I've introduced this to and gotten feedback from, like most people like, oh man, I'm done with juicing screens after going with the screenless. And if that's you, post your comments down below, because I want other people to know real world experiences from other customers, how much easier this makes juicing. And you will be juicing more because of it and getting more of the benefits from those fruits and vegetables that you should be eating anyways, that Hurom makes it easy to get into, especially with their easy clean design. So if you guys enjoyed this episode today, seeing the comparison between the H70 and the all-new H80, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Also be sure to share this with other people so that they can see the difference between the Hurom H80 just released and my favorite juicer, the Hurom H70. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new and upcoming episodes that are coming out every 5-7 days. You never know what new juices I'll be unboxing, what new machines I'll be comparing against each other, so you guys could take your diet, your health to the next level. Make sure you click the bell so you get notified as many videos come out. And finally, if you should check our past episodes are wealth of knowledge. Over 900 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to teach you guys all about the different juicers and equipment to process your fruits and vegetables and other plant foods in the best ways possible. And I'll put links down below. Some of my favorite videos I made in the past with the Hurom H70 juicing all kinds of different items, including wheatgrass, as well as my original unboxing of the Hurom H80. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors.